Now that we have a very basic flow, we can start adding more information to our app. Remember, from the administration panel we can configure in real-time information for our project and units, so we are going to start adding properties to our nodes. From Node Blueprint we can create Topology Properties. These are the properties that will be replicated multiple times in our project every time we use this blueprint in the hierarchy. They are usually structural properties that will not change constantly once the project is built. Number of rooms, bathrooms, area, are an example of this. So, we go to the node blueprint of our apartment and add area in square meters, number of rooms and number of bathrooms. Then, in hierarchy, we go to the unit to add the second type of properties, the unique properties per unit. These are the properties that can constantly change according to the real estate sales process and unit administration. Here we are going to add the label that would be the long name, the short label that would be the short name, the floor, the price and the availability status. After creating the properties, we must save the project so that this information becomes available to edit in the admin. If the project is not saved, you will not be able to see the information in the admin. Before logging into the admin, I am going to do another important step, which is to define the languages of the application and the preferred orientation. This is because from the admin, we can define information about labels and titles for each language. In the section of User Interface, Edit Setting, we will define that the orientation is portrait and the language is English and Spanish. Now we can log into the administrator site, go to your project and note that we have 3 new sections in the bottom bar. Types, here is where we will see the properties by typology that we added in the node blueprint, and here we will then configure each of those fields. Price list, which would be the simplified list where we can edit the properties that we added in hierarchy section. And we are also going to define these fields. This information is synchronized automatically in real time without the need to reload the open project. Finally, we have the Advanced tab where we can configure more application data in depth. We will see more of this tab later. With properties defined, we can also create our list. Go to the drop-down list and create one. We are going to call it List 1, and leave it empty for now. After applying it, we go to the node blueprint of the scene where we need it to be displayed. In our case, we are going to define it to be displayed in the scene of the building. Here we select the list, and apply. If we do not assign the list to any node, this list will not be shown. Let's go back to the list. In this section we will define the depth of search for properties that will be shown in this list. 8 is a good number of default, but in our case we are going to use 3. This means that, taking into account that the list is assigned to the building, in the hierarchy we are going to count 3 sub-elements, and this will be the total search range. If we have units outside this range, those units left out will not be shown in the list. The conditions will also define what criteria will be used to include elements. If we leave the list without conditions, all the nodes will be shown. That means that the list will include buildings, master plans, key plans. We do not want this. So, in the conditions I will define that only nodes that are of the apartments category will show on the list. In this section we can add more than one condition. If for example we want to show only available apartments, we add as a condition status, equal, to available. Then in this section columns is where we will just create the columns. These will be ordered from left to right. We will create label as the first column. Then floor. Availability. And price. We apply and we can test the list in the application. It is important to mention that using the standard interface, each of the icons will be displayed according to the configuration. If there is an icon that is not displayed, it is probably not correctly configured or need to be assigned to the node where we need it. We now see that our unit shows correctly in our list. We can go back to the admin to modify other aspects of the list, go to Advanced, and within the drop-down Dev we can configure various visual aspects and titles for other sections in the app. We are going to go to the list, and we are going to change its label, which, similar to what we learned with units, it would be the title. And the label short that will be the name under the interface icon. When displaying this section, we can also find the created columns, and we can change the titles of the columns too. So, we already have the list perfect. We will now configure the color mods. This will define the interaction colors of our collisions. For this, we open the drop-down color mods and we create one that we will call CMod1. At first glance we see that we have 4 drop-downs. Select will be the color when selecting or clicking the collision. Deselect will be the color when the unit is not selected. Filter pass will be the color that will show in the units where the filters find positive results to the conditions of these filters. And filter fail, which will be the color that will show in the units where the filters do not find positive results. We are going to open Select and click Add to create a new color for this function. Since it is an interactive app, only the part will be useful. Part 2 and Part 3 are collisions elements used in 3D projects, so we will not need to modify these colors in none of the drop-downs. Then, we will define that when we select an unit, a simple white color is shown. We see that we also have a conditions section in case we need this color to be shown when another certain condition is met. For now we will leave it blank. We apply the change and remember that we must assign this color mod to the node blueprint where we need it. We will assign it in the building and in the key plan. And now we can test. By clicking the unit we see that it is correctly activated. In the following videos we will see more about how we can get more out of these color mods.